Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. My dear Lord, those who desire to purify their existence must always engage in meditation upon your lotus feet as described above. Those who are serious about executing their occupational duties and who want freedom from fear must take to this process of Bhakti Yoga. My dear Lord, the King in charge of the heavenly kingdom is also desirous of obtaining the ultimate goal of life, devotional service. Similarly, you are the ultimate destination of those who identify themselves with you. Aham Brahmasmi. However, it is very difficult for them to attain you, whereas a devotee can very easily attain your lordship. My dear Lord, your pure devotional service is even difficult for liberated persons to discharge, but devotional service alone can satisfy you. Who will take the other process of self-realization if he is actually serious about the perfection of life? Simply by expansion of his eyebrows, invincible time personified can immediately vanquish the entire universe. However, formidable time does not approach the devotee who has taken the complete shelter of your lotus feet. If one by chance associates with a devotee, even for a fraction of a moment, he no longer is subject to attraction by the results of karma or jnana. What interest then can he have in the benedictions of the demigods who are subject to the laws of birth and death? My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the cause of all auspicious things and the destroyer of all the contamination of sin. I therefore beg your lordship to bless me by the association of your devotees who are completely purified by worshipping your lotus feet and who are so merciful upon the conditioned souls. I think that your benediction will be to allow me to associate with such devotees. The devotee whose heart has been completely cleansed by the process of devotional service and who is favored by Bhakti Devi does not become bewildered by the external energy, which is just like a dark well. Being completely cleansed of all material contamination in this way, a devotee is able to understand very happily your name, fame, form, activities, etc. Yeah, yes, yeah. My dear Lord, the impersonal Brahman spreads everywhere like the sunshine or the sky, and the impersonal Brahman, which spreads through the universe and in which the entire universe is manifested, is you. My dear Lord, you have manifold energies, and these energies are manifested in manifold forms. With such energies, you have also created this cosmic manifestation, and although you maintain it as if it were permanent, you ultimately annihilate it. Although you are never disturbed by such changes and alterations, the living entities are disturbed by them, and therefore they find the cosmic manifestation to be different or separated from you. My Lord, you are always independent, and they can clearly see this fact. My dear Lord, your universal form consists of all five elements: the senses, mind, intelligence, false ego, which is material, and the Paramatma. Your partial expansion, who is the director of everything, yogis other than the devotees, namely the Karma Yogi and Jnana Yogi, worship you by the respective actions in the respective positions. It is stated both in the Vedas and in the Shastras that are corollaries of Vedas and indeed everywhere, that it is only you who are to be worshipped. That is the expert version of all the Vedas. My dear Lord, you are the supreme person, the cause of all causes. Before the creation of this material world, your material energy remains in a dormant condition. When your material energy is agitated, the three qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, act, and as a result, the total material energy, egoism, ether, air, fire, water, earth, and all the various demigods and saintly persons becomes manifest. Thus, the material world is created. My dear Lord, after creating by your own potencies, you enter within the creation in the four forms, the four kind of forms. Being within the hearts of the living entities, You know them and know how they are enjoying their senses. The so-called happiness of this material creation is exactly by the is exactly like the bee's enjoyment of honey after it has been collected in the honeycomb. My dear Lord, your absolute authority cannot be directly experienced, but one can guess by seeing the activities of the world that everything is being destroyed in due course of time. The force of time is very strong and everything is being destroyed by something else. Just as one animal is being eaten by another animal, time scatters everything, exactly as the wind scatters clouds in the sky. My dear Lord, all living entities within this material world are mad after planning for things, and they are always busy with a desire to do this or that. This is due to the uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your lordship is always alert, and in due course of time, you strike him, just as a snake sneezes a mouse and very easily swallows him. My dear Lord, any learned person who knows that unless he worships you, his entire life is spoiled. Knowing this, how could he give up worshiping worshipping your lotus feet? Even our father and spiritual master, Lord Brahma, unhesitatingly worshipped you, and the 14 Manus followed in his footsteps. My dear Lord, all actually learned persons know you as the supreme Brahman and the super soul. Although the entire universe is afraid of Lord Rudra, who ultimately annihilates everything, for the learned devotees, you are the fearless destination of all. My dear sons of the kings, just to execute your occupational duty as kings with a pure heart, just chant this prayer, fixing your mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. That will bring you all good fortune, for the Lord will be very much pleased with you. Therefore, O sons of the king, the supreme personality of Godhead Hari is situated in everyone's heart. He is also within your hearts. Therefore, chant the glories of the Lord and always meditate upon him continuously. My dear princess, in the form of a prayer, I have delineated the yoga system of chanting the holy name. All of you should take this important stotra within your minds and promise to keep it in order to become great sages. By acting silently like a great sage and by giving attention and reverence, you should practice this method. This prayer was first spoken to us by Lord Brahma, the master of all creators. The creators, headed by Bhrigu, were instructed in these prayers because they wanted to create. When all the Prajapatis were ordered to create, when all the Prajapatis were ordered to create by Lord Brahma, we chanted these prayers in praise of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and became completely free from all ignorance. Thus, we were able to create different types of living entities. A devotee of Lord Krishna, whose mind is always absorbed in him, who with great attention and reverence chants this stotra prayer, will achieve the greatest perfection of life without delay. In this material world, there are different types of uh, yeah, Prabhuji, in this material world, I think 75, Prabhuji. Yeah, in this material world, there are different types of achievement, but of all of them, the achievement of knowledge is considered to be the highest because one can cross the ocean of nescience only on the boat of knowledge. Otherwise, the ocean is impassable. Although rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worshipping Him are very difficult, if one vibrates or simply reads this stotra prayer composed and sung by me, he will very easily be able to invoke the mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the dearest objective of all auspicious benedictions. A supreme human being who sings the song sung by me can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee being fixed in the Lord's devotional service can acquire whatever he wants from the Supreme Lord. A devotee who rises early in the morning and with folded hands chants these prayers sung by Lord Shiva and gives facilities to others to hear them certainly becomes free from all bondage of to fruitive activities. My dear sons of the king, the prayers I have recited to you are meant for placing the supreme personality of Godhead, so the super soul. I advise you to recite these prayers, which are as effective as great austerities. In this way, when you are mature, your life will be successful and you will certainly achieve all your desired objectives without fail. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for this opportunity, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hope you had enjoyed reading this whole chapter
Yes,
sung by Lord Shiva.
absolutely, Prabhuji. In fact, he one very captivating point for me was Lord Shiva also mentions in the Vedas. It's clearly mentioned that Lord Krishna or Vishnu is the supreme personality, but I think there are different variations like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. People have made it very. The Lord Himself has made it very easy for us to understand. So
Yeah.
thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's enjoy this continuation of this chapter in the lines of Lord Shiva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurudmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagatamahiyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Anvitamscha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we are going through a very important part of this chapter, which is kind of concluding this wonderful prayers that Lord Shiva is passing on the heritage. When we talk about parampara, it is very, very important that we are getting not concocted or speculated or created or man-made treaties or shrutis or smritis. These are actually passed from the Supreme Lord through one way or the other, through different means, through which one can benefit And we can see this is the message that Lord Shiva is giving to the Prachetas, the sons of Prachina Barhishat. Yeah, in that we are in the concluding but very, very profound, powerful prayers, which include this verse, this verse which is about etadrupam anudhyayam atmasuddhim abhi abhipsatam, means we all want to purify our existence, right? We want to purify our existence, and etadrupam anudhyayam. So what is that form? My dear Lord, those who desire to purify their existence must always engage in meditation upon your lotus feet, as described above. Yet bhakti yoga. So what is the means of attaining this pure perfection is by purification, and how this is achieved is by bhakti yoga. Abhayad. So abhayad daha means factual fearlessness. We know that Abhaya Charanaravinda, Srila Prabhupada's name, Abhaya Charan, one who is serving fearlessly at the lotus feet of the Lord. Swadharmam, Swadharmam Anutishtatam means we want to always understand Swadharmam, what is that duty, and Anutishthata means to execute them. So here Lord Shiva is saying, my dear Lord, those who desire to purify their existence must always engage in meditation upon your lotus feet. So devotion to this form gives freedom from fear. Abhaya, Abhaya Pradaya, Abhaya Daya. So this is what we all want. If we ask anyone, what do you want? They may have question, but if we ask, do you want fear? They'll say no. And someone may say, oh, no, I want fear, because only if I have fear, then only I will be serious. But that fear is only for helping him out to become fearless. So ultimately one wants to become fearless. So here it is said, the transcendental name, form, pastimes, and entourage of the Lord cannot be appreciated by the material senses. So we have to purify ourselves. Only when we purify ourselves, then we can actually engage in the service of the Lord, so that the senses may be purified and one can see the Supreme Lord. It has indicated that those who are constantly engaged in meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord are certainly purified of the material contamination. So if someone says that you have to finish your course of studying a library full of books, just the thought itself bewilders, unless one is a bookworm who want to read. But for people who are looking for a simple option, simple alternative, but most profound alternative is to engage in devotional service, in practice devotional service. So those who constantly engage in meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. So to meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord is not difficult. Because when we understand the glories of the Lord, when the greatness of the Lord through in form of Bhagavad Gita, so we understand the greatness of the Lord, which maintained, created, and those glories, lotus feet. Under his control, everything is manifested. So, however, from Vedic literature, we learn that the yogis are always absorbed in meditation upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Dhyana tad gatena manasa pasyanti yam yogina. In Bhagavatam 12th Canto, what do the yogis do? This is the real business of the yogis, is to think of the lotus feet of the Lord. Lord Shiva therefore advises that one who is actually serious about the purification must engage himself in this type of meditation. So it is very easy. One can attain this at any stage. If they have the opportunity, they can visit a temple, and when they visit the temple, they can take darshan of the Lord at his lotus feet and meditate. I am your servant, I am your servant, I am your servant. This is the meditation. Please engage me in your service. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. How can we focus our mind in this chanting is by praying at the lotus feet of the Lord that, oh Lord, please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. And that is the essence of this chanting of the mantra. By chanting, what is that we are doing is we are committing ourselves, or we are showing that we are committed, and we are showing that we are serious, that I would like to engage in your service. So, and that is not as difficult as when we talk about the mystic yoga system, where we have to find a best location, we have to find a perfect setup, we have to find um, um, ourselves skilled of how to meditate upon the tip of the nose and between the eyebrows, and then go through whole kriya, the process through which one can be absorbed. And in this yoga, it becomes more and more challenging because of the interferences of so many things. We call about when we have a pure field of field, then we can have a undisturbed transmission. But when there are a lot of interferences, how can we get a proper pure transmission? Just imagine, there are some jammers which can affect the signal that is coming. We may think, oh no, I have a contact with the Lord directly, but there are some jammers which stop it. What is that? The thick brick of Maya. And how do we get rid of it? We need to find some boosters. When we have some nice booster, what it will do, it will help us to minimize the interference of this thick interference. So in this way, what is that booster? The booster is the chanting of the Lord and praying that I would like to engage in your service. So the word swadharma, as in the swadharma anutishtatam, indicates that the system of varnashrama. It is very important to understand the role of varnashram in our life. Sometimes we think there is no need of varnashram. That's why as soon as we come to the West, and when we want to follow this varnashram system, immediately there are people who are a common man would always challenge us. Hey, you people are time old people thinking that these 4 varnas are required. I think these are for no reason. After all, what is it? Equality. Means everyone is equal. There is nothing like someone is privileged, someone is underprivileged, someone is overprivileged. Everyone equally privileged. So everyone should be able to go into the what do you call this, temples. I think recently there was this a big debate about Shabarimalai. Why ladies should be stopped? Come on, everyone is allowed. One can go. And this kind of propaganda, and then purpose of things more complicated when we do not have the capacity to when we do not have the courage to accept it. What we do is we always find a way of how to get rid of it, thinking that that is the solution. If someone gives us a problem, we say, okay, what is the best way? Just to ignore it, just to neglect it, just to reject it. And this varnashram system is being rejected in many places, in many parts of the world, even in India sometimes. But it's very important. But again, the reason why it is being rejected is because of the failure that is seen in the face of executing this varnashram system. When we talk about varnashram system, we are talking about the occupational duties of a Brahman. A Brahman should be a right Brahman. When we talk about the duties of a Kshatriya, he should be a right Kshatriya. When we talk about Vaishya and Shudra, they should be perfect. This is very important. So that, and which is perfect institution of humanity. This is very nice. This is the reason why this system is there, to help the humanity so that one can come to a better way of living. May not everyone will have a sharp intelligence, but how can he be supported if he is under the guidance of an intellectual person? A person is guiding him what he should do, what he should not do. Then by doing it, he also gets the benefit. A kshatriya, not everyone is strong, not everyone is physically fit. He may not be able to protect himself. Then who is the one who protects him? It is the kshatriyas, the kings, uh, or the administrative department. And then then we talk about Vaishyas, and Shudras in the same line. But what has happened when such a good system was there? Why it got degraded, deteriorated? Because they missed very important essence. What is that? How to be perfect in this whole setup? To be perfect a Brahman, to be a perfect Kshatriya, to be perfect Vaishya, he should understand that he must be supported by Bhakti Yoga. If one at all wants security in life, what he should do is he should add bhakti into his dinacharya, into his day-to-day activities, into his lifestyle, into his existence, because after all, everyone is a servant of the Lord. So generally people think that simply by executing occupational duties of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or duty of a brahmachari or a grahastha, vanaprastha, or sannyas, one becomes fearless. No, that's not going to happen. The reason why it didn't work and people are scared and because of that they want to give up is because they have not added bhakti yoga. And unless bhakti yoga is added to it, if it's not accompanied by bhakti yoga, then what happens? One cannot attain fearlessness. In Bhagavad Gita, there is description of karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, dhyana yoga, etc. But unless one comes to the point of bhakti yoga, these other yogas cannot help one attain the highest perfection of life. So this bhakti yoga is very, very important. It is not a choice. It is not a prio 2. It is the prio 0. One, which means everything can stay, everything can wait, everything retires when it comes to the priority of bhakti. But because we do not have faith in it, that's time we squeeze in a bit of bhakti. Power, why it is not affecting one, where is the sincerity? So in the discussion, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai about human beings' liberation from the material world, Ramananda Rai said execution of Varnashram Dharma is the key. Lord Chaitanya indicated that Varnashram Dharma was simply external, eho bahya, which means this is there, but that's not the only thing that can solve the problem. Lord Chaitanya wanted to impress upon Ramananda Rai that simply by executing the duties of Varnashram one is not guaranteed liberation. Finally, then when Ramananda Rai referred the process of bhakti, he said, Sthane stita sruti gatam tanuvan manobhihi. Regardless of one's condition of life, if he practices bhakti, which begins with hearing, Shruti Gatam, the transcendental message of the Lord through the mouths of devotees, he gradually conquers the unconquerable God. That is the danger. That is the danger of nectar of devotion. In nectar of devotion, Rupa Goswami is saying there is the danger of pure devotional service is even the Lord can be purchased. That's why the Lord is not going to grant bhakti yoga to everyone, not going to grant bhakti to everyone. He is very, very careful because bhakti has the potency of even conquering the Lord. Ajaya, he can be conquered. Why? Because bhakti, Lord is totally touched by the devotion of his devotees that he becomes their servant. God is known to be unconquerable, but one who submissively hears the words of a self-realized soul conquers the unconquerable. The conclusion is that if one is serious about liberation, he not only should execute the occupational duty of varnashram, but also engage in the bhakti yoga by beginning hearing from a realized soul. This is very, very important. This is not so commonly understood, and that's why we are trying to find doing so many ways of becoming fearless, sometimes directly in touch with the Lord, sometimes indirectly in touch with the Lord, and we think, hey, this is not working. Why? Because we are not practicing bhakti yoga properly. So in the next verses, we understand what is the position, supreme position of bhakti. Bhavan bhakti mata labhyo adurlabha durlabha sarva dehinam swarajya asyapi abhimata ekantatma ekantetatma vid gatihi. It is here said, it is very, very difficult. Durlabha. In Brahma Samhita, we have this Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajam. This is very difficult. Even one may take shelter of Vedas. This is clearly mentioned here that literature one may study. Simply by studying literature, it is not possible to attain the ultimate goal of life and reach the supreme destination, Golok or Vrindavan or Vaikuntha. However, this highest perfectional stage can be attained by devotees very easily. The same point is what Lord Shiva is mentioning in this verse, that for devotees it is easy. What is he saying? He is saying that Bhavan Bhakti Mata Labhyo Durlabha Sarva Dehinam. How much difficult it is? Swarajya Syapi Swarajya Swargaloka. Who is the head of that? Indra. Even for Indra it is very difficult. It is, yeah. In other word, in the word Swarajyasya, Swar refers to Swarga Loka, the heavenly planet. Swarajya refers to the ruler of the heavenly planets, Indra. Generally, karmis desire elevation to the heavenly planets, but King Indra desires to become perfect in Bhakti Yoga. So all of us, we are working. If someone is born in a low class, he wants to get to at least middle class. If someone is in the middle class, he wants to get into the upper middle class. If someone is in the upper middle class, he wants to become high class. And if someone was in the high class, he wants to be in elite class. If someone is in the elite class, he wants to be in the executive class. In that way, one is promoting himself so that he can enjoy better facilities. He can enjoy better life. And who is that? Lord Indra, who attained all Svargalok. He is the king of heavenly planet. But what is he desiring? He wants Bhakti Yoga. Those who identify themselves as Aham Brahmasmi, I am the Supreme Brahman, one with absolute truth, also ultimately desire to attain perfect liberation in the Vaikuntha planets. What is the reference? Bhaktya mama bijanati yavan yas chasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gnatva vishate tadantaram. He is saying, one can understand the Supreme as he is only by devotional service. He can enter, and when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Thus, if one desires to enter into the spiritual world, he must try to understand the Supreme Lord through the process of Bhakti Yoga. Simply by practicing Bhakti Yoga, one can understand the Supreme Lord in truth. But without such understanding, one cannot enter the spiritual kingdom. One may be elevated to the heavenly planets. Or may even realize himself as Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. But that is not the end of realization. One must realize the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Bhakti Yoga. Then real perfection of life is attained. What is further said, Durlabham, now we talk about Tam Duraradhyam Aradhyam Satam Api Durapaya Ekanta Bhaktaya Ko Vanchet Pada Moolam Vinabahi. My dear Lord, pure devotional service is even difficult for liberated persons to discharge. Okay, we are saying Bhakti Yoga is the key, but this Bhakti Yoga is very difficult. But devotional service alone can satisfy. Now we are in a difficult condition, right? When the Lord can be pleased by pure devotional service. How can we attain that pure devotional service? It is very, very difficult. Maybe we are doing some devotional service with some desire, with that it okay, but how to do desire devotion without anything? Tivra bhaktena. Hmm? So who will take to other process of self-realization if he is actually serious about perfection of life? But if we are very serious to attain perfection of life, we will be interested to take the pure devotional service path. The word satam refers to the transcendentalist. There are three kinds of transcendentalists. They are jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas. Out of the three, who is the topmost? It is bhakta. Why? Because bhakta can attain the pure stage, perfection. Hmm? Foolish people sometimes maintain that God may be attained in any way, either by karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, etc. But here it is clearly stated that it is impossible to obtain the mercy of the Lord by any means but bhakti yoga. The word duraradhya is essentially significant. It is very difficult to attain the lotus feet of the Lord by any method other than bhakti yoga. So sometimes Bhagavad Gita is such a popular book. Bhagavad Gita has so many subject matters, very empirical and very esoteric. It kinds of catches up so many attention, and ultimately, if one is not presenting that, ultimately this is not just a science book. Usually, when we are talking, even if you take a science book today, we will see so many theory, law of that, law of this, and then there is a name to it. Usually, people are more interested in the law rather than the person who created it or who found it, who invented it, right? But it's very important that this is being presented by a person. It didn't come on its own, and even created by the supreme person. It didn't come on its own. So we should understand the connection, relation towards the supreme person, and that is what is bhakti, to attribute everything, whatever we are seeing, by the grace of the Lord. And you know what? It's the next verse is saying, the Lord is so great. It is said, Yatra nirvishtam aranam, kritanto nabhimanyate, vishvam vidvamshayan virya, saurya, vishprujitam bruva. Simply by expansion of his eyebrows, invincible time personified can immediately vanquish the entire universe in the form of Sankarshana expansion. However, formidable time does not approach the devotee who has taken complete shelter at your lotus feet. So if we want to overcome death, people are finding so many ways, right? People are very eager, especially people who have attained success, or people who think that this is the rare, precious life, my precious life. How can I give up? I'll do all everything possible. I don't know if you have seen, what is this called? The Lord of Rings, where the Hobbit has this special ring, and this ring, whoever has can always be young. He won't die. I don't know whether it's said about eternity, but he will always be youthful. So everyone is behind that. Everyone, the whole novel is all about how to get that ring so that one can live forever, youthful. So this is all what our minds are. That's why it's quite an exciting theme, and that's why this has come into a novel, into a movie, and everyone watched it. Why? Because it's something special. How nice if I get such a ring. May that ring protect me from getting old. May that ring protect me becoming weak. May it protect me against losing my teeth. May it protect me losing my hair. So many things we wanted that ring to be presented, if that can protect. Now what is that? Here we can clearly see, simply by expansion of his eyebrows, everything is under his control. And when such a control the Lord has, everything is um, working just by his wink of the eyebrow. Then, but the devotees, the formidable time does not approach the devotee. It's amazing. Mrityu sarva haras chaham. The Lord is saying, I am the all devouring time. In Bhagavad Gita, he is saying, The Lord, in the shape of death, takes away everything that is created by the conditioned soul. So, conditioned soul has many plans. A Jeev is so much interested to eat the fruit. After all, just imagine, we have worked very hard and we have bought a fruit. Working hard is for what? To get a fruit, to enjoy the fruit. You have bought the fruit and the time is up. Satish Babu, what will happen? You have worked very hard, earned a lot. When the time comes about enjoying the fruit, then the Lord is giving a call. Then what will you say? Hey, Lord, no, give me some more time. After all, just now I started, isn't it? Hmm? So the Lord, in the shape of death, takes away everything. He is not waiting for us. How? The example given later, will come across that nice analogy. But isn't it the truth of the material world where we are living? Everything in the material world is subject to perish in due course of time. Time. We are all controlled by time, and Lord is saying, "I am that devouring time." However, all the strength of time cannot hamper the activities of a devotee. But this time uh, will not hamper the activities of devotee. For a devotee takes complete shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. The devotee, he is fearless. He is not saying, "Oh, if I do this, then I'm going to die. No, let me not do this." A devotee is just eager to spread the glories of the Lord all over, in all possible ways, all capacity. In that, for him, death or not death doesn't matter. Whether in this life or the next life, it doesn't matter. The great souls, Satam, saints, they are only interested in the welfare, in the mission of the Lord, in executing in practicing bhakti. All the activities of karmis and gyanis, which have no touch of devotional service, are spoiled in the due course of time. The material success of karmis is destined to be destroyed. We may build big, big buildings. We may have big, big plans. All these things are doomed to end. Similarly, the impersonal realization attained by Gyanis is also destroyed in the course of time. Aruhya krichrena anadrita yusmad angrayaha. To say nothing of karmis and Gyanis, the Gyanis undergo severe austerities to attain the impersonal Brahman Jyoti. But because they do not find the lotus feet of the Lord, they fall down again into this material existence. Unless one is fully situated in the unalloyed devotional service, there is no guarantee of liberation, even if one is elevated to heavenly planets or to the Brahman realization, Brahma Jyoti. So, a devotee's achievement, however, is never lost by the influence of time. Even if a devotee cannot completely execute devotional service, in his next life he begins from the point where he left. Such an opportunity is not given to the karmis and gyanis, whose achievements are destroyed. Even Jnani, okay, some knowledge is still given, but not the result. The Bhakta's achievement is never destroyed, for it goes on perpetually, be it complete or incomplete. This is the verdict of all Vedic literature. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Abhijayate. One is unable to complete the process of Bhakti Yoga. He is given a chance in next life to take birth in a pure family. So that is here we are talking about time. Who is the Lord of time? It is Yamaraj, right? The Yamaraj, who is superintendent of the death, was instructing his assistants. When we talk about in the sixth canto, chapter 1 to 4, we come across Ajamil pastime, where in the third chapter we come where or even second chapter we can already see Yamadutas. Or Vishnu Dutas are saying, "Hey, we are surprised how you don't know this. What is that?" Yeah, even Yamaraj is telling, "Hey, don't go to the devotees. Why? Huh? It is said the devotees should be offered respect." He said, "But do not get near to them." Thus, the devotee of the Lord are not under the jurisdiction of Yamaraj. Yamaraj is a representative personality of Godhead, and he controls the death of every living entity. Yet he has nothing to do with the devotees. Simply by blinking his eyes, time personified can the entire forwards devotion by time. Such spiritual assets remain. So this is the beauty. And not only that, what is the further power of the devotee? It is mentioned here. Shanaradye pani tulaye. When we compare Shana, Shana Ardhena, not only one full minute moment, अर्ध तुलये न स्वर्गम नापुरन भवम भगवत संगी संगस्य मर्त्यानाम किम उता शिशः. So he's saying, what is the power of a devotee is, what it is said, if one by chance associates with a devotee even for a fraction of a moment, he no longer is subject to attraction by the results of karma or jnana. What interest then can he have in benediction of demigods who are subject to law of birth and death? Lord Shiva is telling to Prachetas that how valuable it is to get of a devotee. Just a moment association of a devotee. Then obviously it's a no-brainer not go to a demigod for benediction, because even the demigods, they can't give eternity. They themselves are under the law of birth and death. It is said in the purport, Prabhupada is saying, what are the three kinds of men, karmis, jnanis, and bhaktas? The bhakta is described here as the most exalted. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati has sung Kaivalya Narakayate Tridasha Pura Akasha Pushpayate Indra Chaitanya Chandratma. Sorry, Chaitanya Chandamrita. Yeah. The word Kaivalya means to merge into the effulgence of the Supreme Person of Godhead. And the word Tridashapur refers to the heavenly planets where the demigods live. Thus, for a devotee, Kaivalya Sukha, or merging into the existence of the Lord, is hellish because Bhakta considers it suicidal to lose his individual and merge into the effulgence of Brahman. So, a Bhakta is not interested in all these things. A Bhakta always wants to retain his individuality in order to render service. If we say, devotees do not commit suicide in the human form of life, when he is going through all difficulties, a devotee always appreciates it as the mercy of the Lord, and he doesn't commit suicide because of the difficulties. Why? Because this is an opportunity. In this form, one has an opportunity to render service to the Lord, which if one commits a suicide and becomes a spirit, he may not. He will not. So that's why. Or if one want to become a part of a Brahma Jyoti, effulgence, then they have to lose their individual identity. Though the spirit soul is that, but it is like merging into the Brahma Jyoti, just like a small tiny spark which is going in contact with the whole effulgence halogen light. What can it? It is there, its existence is there, but it is part of it, so it doesn't has the opportunity to render service. So the resultant action of karma and jnana are so insignificant to devotees situated in transcendental platform that he is not in the least interested in them. Bhakti yoga is sufficient to give the bhakta all happiness. Yayatma suprasidati. One can be fully satisfied simply by devotional service, and thus that is the result of association with a devotee. Without being blessed by a pure devotee, no one can be fully satisfied. So how do we say? How do we attain bhakti? Not just because we engage in some activity. Not bhakti. Even if you're doing devotional service, that may not attract. But it is, if we see, how come we took up to devotion? It is only by what? By the blessings of a pure devotee. Without being blessed by a pure devotee, no one can be fully satisfied, nor can anyone understand the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Bhakti Yoga means not that I will do whatever I feel because I have read some book because I have thought like this, let me do it and try it. No, it should be under the guidance of the Supreme Lord's direction, coming through the parampara system, which means taking shelter of a guru. And then so it is very important to, what is that, even half a moment has such a great benediction. It is said, my dear Lord, your lotus feet are the cause of all auspicious things and the destroyer of all contamination of sin. I therefore beg your Lordship to bless me by association of your devotees. Lord Shiva is asking the Lord, he is praying to the Lord. What? He wants association of his devotees who are completely purified by worshipping your lotus feet and who are so merciful upon the conditioned soul. I think that your real benediction will be to allow me to associate with such devotees. So the reference here he is giving is the Ganges, just like Ganges. The Ganges water is celebrated as being able to eradicate all kinds of sinful reactions. How? Because it has originated from the lotus feet of the Lord. In other words, when a person takes his bath in Ganges, he becomes freed from all life contamination. The Ganges water is celebrated in this way because it emanates from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Similarly, those who are directly in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord and who are absorbed in the chanting of his glories are freed from all material contamination. Such unalloyed devotees are able to show mercy to the common conditioned soul. Vrindavan Das Thakur has sung that the devotees of Lord Chaitanya are so powerful that each one of them can deliver a universe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is associates. The devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are empowered. When we come across, we see how Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has destroyed the misconception of devotion. He has broken down those apasampradayas to establish Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement as the topmost. Then we see how Srila Prabhupada has established ISKCON all over the world. In other words, it is the business of devotees to preach the glories of the Lord and deliver all conditioned soul to the platform of Suddha Sattva. Here the word Susattva means Suddha Sattva. By his exemplary prayers, Lord Shiva teaches us that our best course is to take shelter of Lord Vishnu and his Vaishnav devotees. Ayasya chittam bahirartha vibramam tamo guhayam cha vishuddham avishat yad bhakti yoganugrahitam anjasa munir vishate nanu tatra tegatim. So here we see that what is the secret is that we should understand, being completely cleansed of material contamination this way, the devotee is able to understand very happily the Lord's name, fame, form, activities, etc. So this verse is similar to in the third canto. We come across Satam Prasangan Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Hritkarna Rasayana Kata Tad Josanad Aswa Apavarga Vartmani Shraddharatir Bhaktir Anukrama Shita. So this is saying that simply by association of pure devotee, Shraddha, Ratir, Bhakti, Anukramishyati. What is attained? Everything is attained. Simply by association of pure devotee, one can understand the transcendental name, form, qualities, and activities. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has repeatedly said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kaya, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hai. The meaning is that just the power of associating with devotees is unimaginable. It's wonderful. Simply by associating with a pure devotee, one becomes wonderfully advanced in Krishna consciousness. Sadhu Sangha or association with a devotee means always engaging in Krishna consciousness by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and by acting for Krishna. Simply chanting the Hare Krishna mantra purifies one, and this chanting is therefore recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What does it do? It will help us Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvavanam. And that by chanting, the cleaning process happens. When one's heart is not pure, he cannot see how things are related to the Lord. Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Vetara. He whose heart is purified can see that the whole cosmic manifestation is but the supreme personality of Godhead. But he whose heart is contaminated sees things differently. Therefore, by Sat Sangha, Sat Sangha is very important. We are not behind of any ordinary Sangha, because any ordinary Sangha is just going to cheat us. Why? Because when we do not have a vision, how can we help others to get vision? One need to have a divine vision so that one can help out. And this divine vision is only possible uh, by approaching the saintly people. Sat Sangha is very important. Sat Sangha means not about people who are in the mode of goodness. Uh, Sat Sangha means people who are in the mode of Suddha Sattva. Hmm. It is said, therefore, by satsang or association with devotees, one becomes perfectly pure in heart. One who is pure in heart is never attracted by the external energies. The pure heart of devotee is never disturbed when he executes devotional service in the form of hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. So the other day when we were in Hemagauri Mataji's home program, we were appreciating the greatness, how we are feeling when we are chanting. What do we get when we chant? By hearing, chanting, and remembering what is happening, one is not disturbed. The heart becomes pure, the mind becomes calm. In all, there are 9 processes one can follow in the execution of devotion service. In any case, a pure-hearted devotee is never disturbed. The Bhakti Yoga process must be carried out by avoiding 10 offenses one can commit unto the holy name. So when we are doing the japa, we should be very careful that we do proper quality of japa. And not only the 10 offenses, there are also 64 offenses one can commit while worshipping the deity. So this also one should be very, very careful not to commit. When a devotee strictly follows the rules and regulations, then Bhakti Devi becomes very much satisfied with him. And at that time, he is never disturbed by anything external. Such a person is called Muni. A devotee is also called a Muni. Muni means thoughtful. And we know Vyasadeva is Mahamuni. Vyasadeva is addressed as Mahamuni. Kapila, Sukadeva also are called Muni, and Vyasadeva is addressed as Mahamuni. A devotee is addressed as Muni when he purely understands the personality of Godhead. The conclusion is that when one's heart is purified by the association of devotees and by the avoidance of offenses committed when chanting and worshipping the Lord, the transcendental name, form, and activities of the Lord are revealed. So in this way, so it is very important to understand. However, some sages see your form as Brahman, but that is you, since it is your effulgence spreading glory everywhere. So after saying that, now Lord Shiva is saying the relationship between the Lord and the material creation. Because why the devotees are understanding the Lord as the supreme, because he is the one who has created everything. He is the one who has created the material, who is the one who has created spiritual. Yatredam vyajayate vishwam. Vishwamin avabhati yat tattvam brahma param jyotir akasham iva vishrutam. My dear Lord, the impersonal Brahman spreads everywhere like the sunshine or the sky. And that impersonal Brahman which spreads throughout the universe and in which the entire universe is manifested is you. So this is very important to understand, that it is ultimately the Lord, from Lord this energy, the Brahman is manifested. So we have to understand that in the Vedic literature it is said that everything is Brahman and nothing else. The cosmic manifestation rests on the Brahma Jyoti. The impersonalist, however, cannot understand how such a huge cosmic manifestation can rest on a person. Thus, this inconceivable power of the Lord is not understood by the impersonalists. Therefore, they are puzzled and always denying that absolute truth is a person. How can a person can carry everything? This wrong impression is cleared by Lord Shiva here, who says that the impersonal Brahman is none other than the Supreme Lord. Here it is clearly said that the Lord is spread everywhere like the sunshine by the virtue of his Brahma feature. So that is the understanding. It goes further that the Lord exists everywhere. There are pious things and impious things, but in the Shastras, pious things are described as the front of the Supreme Lord, whereas impious things are described as the back of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the example given here is a sky. We know that sky or air is spread everywhere. Air is within a pot. Air is not only in the pot, but it also touches filthy places. And it sanctifies places alike. In any case, the sky is uncontaminated, right? Whether it is touching stool or whether it's touching flower, it is not contaminated. Similarly, the sunshine also touches filthy places and sanctified places, and both are actually produced by sun. But in any case, the sun is aloof from all filthy things. The Lord exists everywhere. There are impious things and pious things, but in the Shastras, the pious things are described as the front of the Lord, and impious things are the back of the Lord. Maya datam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani na chaham teshva avastita. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. Lord himself is saying, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. So this is understanding that we see, and Lord Shiva in this verse confirms that ultimate absolute truth is a person. He clearly says, Tattvam Brahma Param Jyotis Aksharam, Jyotir Akasham Iva Vistritam. Here is a common example. A successful businessman may have many factories and offices, and everything rests on his order. If someone says that the entire business rests on such and such a person, it does not mean that the person is bearing all the factories and offices on his head. Rather, it is understood that by his brain or his energetic expansion, the business is running without interruption. Similarly, it is the brain and energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that carry on the complete manifestation of the material and spiritual worlds. So, the philosophy of monism, explained here very clearly, adjusts itself to the fact that the supreme source of all energy, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. It is described very clearly. It is also stated here how the impersonal feature of Krishna can be understood. Rasoham apsyu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayo pranava sarva vedeshu shabdakhe paurusham nrishu. Sorry. He is saying, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. And in spite, Krishna is saying, I am, I am, I am. People are still trying to find who is that I. When Krishna directly was speaking that I am, people are still thinking, how can he be like that? Maybe he's talking about something else, or let's try to understand it differently. In this way, Krishna can be understood as a mystic power in everything, but we see that, oh, it's so mystic that we cannot accept it. Yo maya yedam puruh rupa ya srijad bhivarti bhuya kshapayati avikriya yad veda buddhi sa ivatma duhritaya tvam atma tantram bhagavan pratimahi. My dear Lord, you have manifold energies, and these energies are manifested in manifold forms. With such energies, you have also created this cosmic manifestation, and although you maintain it as if it were permanent, you ultimately annihilate it. Although you are never disturbed by such changes and alterations, the living entities are disturbed by them, and therefore they find the cosmic manifestation to be different or separated from you. My Lord, you are always independent, and I can clearly see this fact. So, so here, the Lord Shiva is saying about glories of the Maya. He is saying there you have many energies, and in the Prabhupada mentions there are multi energies, that can be categorized into three. One is spiritual energy, the other one is material energy, the third one is marginal energy. There are also different cosmic manifestations, namely spiritual world and material world. Some living entities are conditioned and others are eternally free. So when we talk about the Jiva Atmas, some are eternally liberated. They are called as Nitya Muktas, for they never come in contact with the material energy. So which means there is a whole good amount of living entities who are already in the spiritual world with the Lord. They never had come to the material world at all, for they never come in contact with material energy. However, some living entities are conditioned in this material world, and thus they think themselves separated from the Supreme Lord. So, I don't know if Sage Sai Prabhu is there. He asked me why we call as we are part and parcel of the Lord. Because we are in the material world, we may think I am independent. I am only another small living entity, but I have no relation or not part and parcel of the Lord. No, but everyone is part and parcel of the Lord because everyone is created by the Lord. But in the material world, we may not accept, we do not want to accept it. So, thus, however, some living entities are conditioned in this material world, and thus they think themselves separated from love. Due to their contact with the material energy, their existence is always troublesome. It is a fact that a Vaishnava poet, he said, Krishna Bhuli Sai Jiva Anadi Bahirmukha. Ata eva Maya Tare Deya Sansara Dukha. When the living entity forgets the Supreme Lord and wants to enjoy himself independently, imitating the Supreme Lord, he is captured by the false notion that he is the enjoyer and is separated from the Supreme Lord. This material energy is therefore very much troublesome to the spiritual energy, the living entity, but the material energy is never troublesome to the Supreme Lord. So for us, its material energy is very difficult to overcome. It is very, very difficult because we are being influenced by the mode of passion, ignorance, goodness. But Lord is not affected by that, because in fact the Lord, for the Lord, both material and spiritual energies are the same. In this verse, Lord Shiva explains that the material energy is never troublesome to the Lord. The Supreme Lord is always independent, but because the living entities are not independent due to their false idea of becoming independently happy, they are finding this energy as troublesome. But for devotees, no. When the devotees understand that all these energies, sorry, and creations are because of the Lord, for he has no problem. Simply to understand this, we see that Lord Shiva is saying, everything is created by you, everything is annihilated by you, and you are not affected by that. So that is the greatness of the Lord. Lord Shiva or any other pure devotee can see this clearly without being blinded by Veda Buddhi or differentiation. For a devotee, the Lord is a supreme spirit soul. Since he is supremely powerful, his various powers are also spiritual. For a devotee, there is nothing material. So even for a devotee, there is nothing material. We may see here, this is a mic, which is a matter. We may, we may find this is a flower, which is a matter. Whatever we are seeing, everything is matter. But there is a way of how to make everything spiritualized. By engaging everything in Krishna consciousness, then everything is spiritual also. For a devotee, there is nothing material. For material existence only means forgetfulness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we think this is independent of the Lord, that is matter. But when we understand that everything is part and parcel of the Lord, then we see that everything is spiritual. And this goes further to say that, okay, universal form, yeah, your universal form consists of all five elements, yeah, the senses, mind, intelligence, false ego, and Paramatma, your partial expansion, who is the director of everything. Yogis other than the devotees, namely the Karma Yogi and Jnana Yogi, worship you by their respective actions in their respective positions. It is stated both in the Vedas and the Shastras that are corollary of Vedas, and indeed everywhere, that it is only you who are to be worshipped. That is the expert version of all the Vedas. And here we see What is the purpose of any kind of devotion? Akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo dharati tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta paurusha purusham param. What does it mean? Devotee, whether the jnanis who are known as moksha kama. Jnanis are always behind moksha. And the karmis who are known as sarva kama are all the Supreme Lord. The devotees, jnanis and karmis all worship the Lord. Even when one performs yajnas, as stated here, kriya, kalapaya, he should always remember that the demigods are not but agents of the Supreme Lord. Why? Because Lord Vishnu is Yagneshwara. Actually, the worshipful Lord is Vishnu, Yagneshwar. Thus, even when different demigods are worshipped in the Vedic and Tantric sacrifices, the actual goal of sacrifice is Lord Vishnu. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Ye api anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvita se api mam eva kaunteya yajanti abhidhi purvakam. It is said, whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but is offered without true understanding. In Vishnu Puran is also saying, Varnashramachar vata purushena parah puman Vishnur aradhyate panta nanyat tat tosha karanam. Yeah, it is said karmis, jnanis, yogis, in fact, everyone worship Lord Vishnu if he is actually expert in knowledge of Vedas and Tantras. So these Vedas and Tantras are expounding actually what? Lord Vishnu is supreme. The word Kovida is very significant. Kovida indicates devotees of the Lord. Only the devotees of the Lord knows perfectly that the supreme Lord Vishnu is all pervading. Within this material energy, he is represented by 5 elements, all these expansions which are part of the universal form. The conclusion is that the Lord is one and that he is expanded in everything. That is the understanding by Vedic version. Sarvam Khalva Idam Brahma. One who knows this concentrates all his energy in worshipping Lord Vishnu. So it goes. So, and then he says, Tvam Eka. Tvameka adhya purusha supta shakti taya raja sattva tamo vibhidyate mahan aham kham marud agnivar dhara surarasyo bhuta gana idam yata. It says that, my dear Lord, you are the only supreme person, the cause of all causes. Lord Brahma also in Brahma Samhita is saying you are the cause of all causes. And then not only that, you, before the creation of this material world, your material energy remains in a dormant condition. When your material energy is agitated, the 3 qualities, namely, what are that? Goodness, passion, ignorance, act. And as a result, the total material energy, wow, everything is coming, egotism, ether, air, fire, water, earth, and all various demigods and saintly persons become manifest. Thus, the material world is created. So, who is the cause of that? The Lord. So here, aham sarvasya prabhava matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddhabhava samanvita. I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly knows this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. And even in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Chatushloki, the Lord says, aham evasam evagre. I was existing in the beginning before the creation. In the Vedas, it is also said, Eko Narayana Asit. Before the creation, there was only Narayan. This is also confirmed by Shankaracharya. Narayana para avyaktata. So, Narayan is transcendental to creation. As per the Gita Bhashyam that Adi Shankaracharya has given, this is the essence. Since all the activities of Narayana are spiritual, when Narayan said, let there be creation, that creation was all spiritual. The material only exists for those who have forgotten that Narayan is the original cause. So, in fact, everything is created alike. But one who forgot, they see this as a matter, and for them it is material. When we see in the Bhagavad Gita, there are these five. In that eternal, even Prakriti is eternal. So then he's saying that Srishtam Swa Sakyedam Anupravishtas Chaturvidam Puram Atma Amshakena Ato Vidustam Purusham Santam Antar Bhunkte Rishikair Madhu Sar Gamayaha. So this is saying that the so-called happiness of this material creation is exactly like the bee's enjoyment of a honey after it has been collected in the honeycomb. What does it mean? In the purport, Prabhupada is saying that honeybees are struggling day in, day out to go to collect the honey from the flowers, and then they bring it and they create their own honeycomb. And now, why do they collect the honey? So that they can enjoy by taking it, by eating that, by drinking it. Sorry, but what is happening? One bee is bitten by the other bee because of this eating or drinking business. What is happening is that um, because there are these small holes of the combs where the honey is filled, so there is a competition so that they can enjoy, so they keep biting one another. And this is what is mentioned here, that Lord Shiva is saying the so-called happiness in this material creation is exactly like the bees enjoyment. So just like bees are enjoying that honey, but bitten and pain and then honey and all these things, similarly everyone is doing that. The material cosmic manifestation is an exhibition of external energy of the Supreme Lord, but because dull matter cannot work independently, the Lord enters into this material world. He enters as Paramatma. And there is this nice description, I don't know in which purport it comes, about the Darwin theory. But before that, in other words, both the living entities and the Supreme Lord enter into the material creation just to make it active. So, besides this inferior nature, the Lord is saying there is a superior energy of mind which consists of all living entities who are struggling with the material nature and are sustaining the universe. Since the material world cannot work independently, the Lord is entering. The word Chaturvidam is significant in this verse. There are 4 types of living entities born. One who is born from the embryo, Jarayuja, and some by way of eggs, Andaja, and some by perspiration, Swetaja, and some like the trees by the way of seeds, Udbijaja. So there are these 4 ways of things how they come into existence. Regardless of how these living entities enter, they are all busy in pursuit of sense enjoyment. So materialistic scientists' contention that living entities other than human beings have no soul is nullified here. So we see that the soul is present whether it has come through egg or whether it has come to sweat or whether it has come through the seed or embryo. Every being has soul. Whether they are born through an embryo, egg, perspiration or seeds, all living entities in the 84 what do you call million 8.4 million species of life are part and parcel of the Supreme Person of Godhead, and each therefore is an individual spiritual spark and soul. The Supreme Person of Godhead also remains within the heart of the living entity, regardless of whether the living entity is man, animal, tree, germ, or microbe. So the Lord is present in each of them. Adirasa Prabhu, here we have this reference. The Lord resides in everyone's heart, and because all living entities who come to this material world do so in order to fulfill their desire for sense enjoyment, the Lord directs the living entities to enjoy their senses. Sarvasya Sridhanivishta Matta Smriti Gnanam Apohanam Cha. So how is this happening? I am seated in everyone's heart. And from me comes Sarvam Ahameva Vedyo. He's saying that Vedas, everything is coming also from me. Remaining within the hearts of all living entities, the Lord bestows remembrance by which the living entities can enjoy certain things. Thus, the living entities create their enjoyable honey combs and then enjoy them. And then what is happening? Because the bees bite one another when they enjoy honey, they are not exclusively enjoying the sweetness of honey, for there is also suffering. Similarly, in other words, the living entities are subjected to pain and pleasure of the material enjoyment, whereas the Supreme Lord, knowing their plans for sense enjoyment, is aloof from them. So, what is the Lord doing? Lord is witnessing. Thus, the Lord simply witnesses and gives the living entity sanction for the sense enjoyment in the form of Upadrashta Anumanta. It is the Paramatma also who gives the intelligence by which the bees can construct a hive, collect honey, store it in, and enjoy it. Although the Paramatma is aloof from the living entity, he knows their intentions and he gives them facility by which they can enjoy or suffer the result of the action. Human society is exactly like a beehive, for everyone is engaged in collecting honey from various flowers or collecting money from various sources and creating large empires for common enjoyment. And then what happens? Sometimes nations declare war upon one another and the human beehives become source of misery. So the conclusion is that both the Supreme Lord and Jiva enter into the material world. However, the Paramatma is worshipable because he has arranged for happiness of living entity in the material world. Because it is the material world, however, no one can enjoy any kind of happiness without inebriety. So this is what is happening. So this time factor is very key. Sa esha lokan atichanda atichanda vega vego vikarsasi vivu close tvam khalu kala yana भूतानि भूतैर अनुमेय तत्वो गणावलीर वायुर अवावि सह्यः. My dear Lord, your absolute authority cannot be directly experienced, but one can guess by seeing the activities of the world that everything is being destroyed in due course of time. The force of time, what is that? Chanda Vega. The force of time is very strong. Everything is being destroyed by something else. Just as one animal is being eaten by another animal, time scatters everything exactly as the wind scatters clouds in the sky. And Prabhupada in this gives about the law, Darwin theory, the flaw of it. If you remember, in one of the previous classes, we were talking about how a jiva is transmigrating, evolving. And here we see the process of destruction is going on according to the law of nature. Nothing within this material world can be permanent. Although the scientists, philosophers, workers, everyone else are trying to make things permanent. One foolish scientist recently declared that eventually life will be made permanent through science. Even today, that claim is still going on. Nothing is happening. So, some so-called scientists are also trying to manufacture living entities within the laboratory, test tube babies. Thus, in one way or another, everyone is busy denying the existence of the Lord and rejecting the supreme authority of the Lord. However, the Lord is so powerful that he destroys everything in the form of death. Even if one may create, doesn't matter. It will be destroyed. As Krishna says, Mrityu sarva haras chaham. I am devouring death. Charger governor. The Lord is just like death to the atheists, for he takes away everything they accumulate in the material world. We know Hiranyakashipu, he accumulated everything. When his son, 5-year-old, denied, um, uh, sorry, denied the understanding of Hiranyakashipu, then he challenged and he tried to kill his 5-year-old boy due to boy's unflinching faith for the Lord in God. And then what happened? Hiranyakashipu is killed. Narasimhadev appeared and killed him. So this killing process is natural. Jivo jivasya jivanam. What does that mean? One animal is food for another. A frog is eaten by a snake is eaten by mongoose, a mongoose is eaten by another animal. In this way, the process of destruction goes on by the supreme will of the Lord. Although we do not see the hand of the Supreme Lord directly, we can feel the presence of that hand through the Lord's process of destruction. How is the example? The example, just like how we see the clouds are scattered by wind. We cannot see the wind, right? But these are one which are doing it. Although we cannot see how this being done because it is not possible to see the wind, but it is happening. Similarly, although we do not directly see the Supreme Lord, we can see that He controls the process of destruction. Yeah, and then the final verse about this he says is the time factor is pramatta uchchaya iti kritya kriya chintaya. He's saying, my dear Lord, all living entities within this material world are mad after planning for things, and they are always busy with a desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. What is that? It is very nice. Here it said, pravriddha lobham vishayeshu lalasam. The desiring of what? To enjoy the matter. And to what to extent? To lobham, more than what they should. And this is what he's saying. Lord Shiva is saying, the greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity. But your Lordship is always alert. And in due course of time, you strike him just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. So though everyone is busy enjoying, yeah, you're not just carried away to see, oh, how nice, enjoying, oh, I'm also getting happiness from that enjoyment. No, when the time everyone is greedy and everyone makes plans for the material enjoyment, in his lust for material enjoyment, living entity is described as madman. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, Prakrite kriyamanani gunakarmani sarvasa ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The living entity is bewildered and he thinks that everything he is creating. Everyone is calling himself a small Brahma that I have created. So great. I have won patent rights and all these things. Krishna is saying, the bewildered spirit soul under the influence of the three modes of material nature, because he is in the mode of ignorance, passion, or ignorance, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. The nature is what it's doing. Everything is enacted by the laws of nature, and these laws are under the control of the Lord. So the atheists do not know this. They are busy making their own plans, and time comes, everything is broken into pieces, destroyed. Many aristocratic families were created by people in their extreme madness, but we can see that in the course of time, those families and empires have been all destroyed. Such foolish people unnecessarily concoct their own duties without referring to the supreme authority of Lord. The so-called political leaders are busy making plans to advance the material prosperity of their nation, but factually, their political leaders only want an exalted position for themselves. This is what is happening. Anyway, to cut short this whole nice purport, we have to understand that there is a way of living, and it is the way of how the Lord has said, according to the laws of nature, which are backed by the Lord, nothing can be permanent within this material world. Therefore, everyone should be allowed to take shelter of the absolute truth in order to be saved. So, if the governments want to save the people, if the governments are really interested for the welfare, they should really connect the people to things which do not perish, which can give them eternity, which can give them um, purpose, success. Krishna is saying, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So all the activities should be performed. The yajna should be performed from to the Lord. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. To that Lord. And Surada Sarva Bhutanam. What kind of Lord he is? He is Surada Sarva Bhutanam. He is favoring everyone. Natma Mam Shantim Richati. Then one can attain peace. The sages who knows me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities attain peace from the pangs of miseries. So if government want to promote peace, happiness, this is the means. Then now Lord Shiva is directly saying all these things. He's saying Kastvam Padabjam, lotus feet are the essence. Vijahati Pandito. What do the learned persons do? My dear Lord, any learned person knows that unless he worships you, his entire life is spoiled. So we are talking about the understanding of Panditas, wise men. What do wise men do? They worship your lotus feet. Knowing this, how could he give up worshipping your lotus feet? When he knows that if one doesn't worship your feet, then his life is spoiled, why will he give it up? Even our father and spiritual master Lord Brahma unhesitatingly worshipped you, and the 14 Manus followed in his footsteps. So we have to understand who is a wise man. Bahunam janmanamante jnanamam prapadyante. Jnanamam mam prapadyante vasudema sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. So we have to understand after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. So such a person is rare. And such a person like Lord Brahma, like Manus, like Lord Shiva, they are wise and we have to follow their footsteps. Otherwise, what is happening? Should understand. Do not waste the time. Avyartha kalatvam means wasting time. He should also be detached from all material attraction, and he should not long for any material respect in return. Mana, sunyata. This is what are the qualities of a devotee. What is that? He should be shanti. He should be reserved and persistent, perseverant. He should be very perseverant, and then he should be avyartha kalatvam. He should not waste any time. Uh, Virakti, he should not have any material attraction, and then mana sunyata, not behind any respect. Asha bandha, he should not. He should be certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. This is the asha, and then he should always be very eager to serve the Lord. Uh, uh, Samutkantha. Samutkantha means always be faithful, serving the Lord. So the wise man is always very eager to glorify the Lord by chanting and hearing Nama, Gana, Sada, Ruchi. And he is always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Ashakti stad gunakyane. So this is what is needed. So such a person is called advanced. And when such a person is advanced, what does he do? Trinadapi sunichana tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So he always engages in the chanting of the Lord name. There are great personalities. This is not new in this present age. Even in the days of your Prahlad Maharaj, who was engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, was harassed by the demonic father. The atheists are always prepared to harass a devotee. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested that one be very tolerant of these people. Nonetheless, one has to continue such preaching and all respects. Devotional service areas, beginning with Lord Brahma and others. Okay. So here, Lord Shiva is saying, my dear Lord, all actually learned persons know you as the Supreme Brahman and the Super Soul. Although the entire universe is afraid of Lord Rudra, who ultimately annihilates everything, for the learned devotees, you are the fearless destination of all. So this is the summary. He's saying you are the goal of wise and you are the death for ignorant. So the Lord Shiva is concluding all this. He's said all the prayers. And what is the Falastuti? Maybe we can discuss that next week. I was thinking if we could complete it, but I think this is also a nice importance part of this Falastuti. And before that, what is Lord concluding? We will discuss next week. Are there any questions? Anyone want to share or add? What are the important picks from this part?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, thank you for this recitation, Prabhuji. I think for me, two things, Prabhuji. One is the importance of devotees. Lord Shiva himself is requesting the Lord for, to bless him with the, association of devotees. That was one major thing, Prabhuji. And the next thing is like, Lord Shiva kind of claims very clearly that Krishna is a supreme personal Godhead and Vedas are kind of, so these are very nice things. But on like, I have a small question, Prabhuji. Please don't
Yeah.
think I'm playing the devil's advocate. In Lalita Sahasranamam, Prabhuji, there's a line that comes like Karangani Nakopanna Narayana Dashakritihi, meaning like the 10 avatars of Lord Vishnu came from the 10 fingers of Lalita Devi. So
Mhm.
so just confused, probably like Lalita Devi. Okay, maybe it's not the right question in this forum, but maybe we can also talk later, probably if you want. But here I'm bringing
Good.
because
Mm.
Lord Shiva kind of praises from the in the Vedas, which is the supreme of everything. Lord Krishna has said, and in Lalita Sahasranama, which is equally a very divine thing, they tell the other way, probably. That's why it's a question.
Yeah, question indeed itself is very good question. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer. What I can relate this to similar questions is that, okay, we see that, okay, Lord uh, is here we addressed where Lord Shiva is addressing as he is the supreme. We see that this is spoken from the Amala Puran, so definitely this is absolutely true. Yeah, and this is also Mahapuran. And when we refer here Veda Vyas, when he is presented it, and then in this connection he is collecting all, yeah, the glories of the great devotees upon the Lord, and Lord Shiva being great devotee, he did see yeah, the rarity of a pure devotee and the rarity of a pure bhakti to Lord Vishnu. So this supremacy we can see in the connection of Lalita Sahasranam. I mean, we see that Lalita Devi, from whom even the Trimurtis have come. So those descriptions are there, but I do not know. I mean, I haven't come across yet how that is related with the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I see that as a line or a school of thought which is expounding the glories of Lalita Devi. Yeah, that they see that the feminine is the supreme, but in fact, I think in the Devi Bhagavat we see that, for example, when we say Srimati Radharani is in our side, we see where Radharani is the feminine, supreme feminine form. So she is indeed coming from. So Devi is coming as one of them. So in that way, we can see maybe there would be some scripture which is telling how Lalita Devi is connected to Krishna. Yeah. Maybe at a universe level, there is one who is supreme and from whom expansions have come. That description can be valid, but maybe on a higher scale, we may have to see that how that is also clarified. Maybe from previous acharyas would have explained about it. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Very good question. Yeah. Maybe if someone knows already, some reference can share. Mhm. Okay. Any other questions? What else we pick from this chapter or part of the chapter? Sindhu Mataji. Oh, Azrasa Prabhu. Yep. Did you find something interesting?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes. I was just asking something. Did you find interesting that you liked it, you picked it?
Yes, Prabhuji, it is interesting. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, one thing like I said, if we want to chant, instead of going to somewhere to take the place or something, the nature or something, but to be at chant Hare Krishna in our mind from where we are.
Mhm.
So instead of seeing the place where it is nice, okay, we have to go there and
Okay. Yeah, nice. Anyone? Yeah, thanks, Sindhu. Yeah, all fine, all good. And thank you very much for joining. Yeah. Yeah, these parts of the chapters are very, very nice to understand that devotion is the supreme. It is that the other ways when we come across, we should have a clarity that what is supreme. So we don't want to go from a class 10 to class 3, because class 3 there is a new student who is speaking something interesting with nice vocabulary and with nice accent and all. No, we don't want to go down. We want to advance. So we have to be very careful when things come across. It might seemingly be interesting because people are always looking for new. Yeah, if I'm just telling, okay, by chanting Hare Krishna you can attain perfection, yeah, how many days, how many years, how many lifetimes, maybe something different can be interesting. No, we don't have to find something. The only thing is we have to go deeper in the chanting, then we'll find so many things, but not think like there is something other attractive way through which we can yeah, we should be very careful. If it is bhakti, then it's fine. If it is part of the 9 processes of devotional service, it's fine. But anything else can only be yeah, from the words of Lord Shiva, is not worth it. Okay, then have a nice day, nice weekend. Tomorrow I'll be giving class in Gauradesh temple. If someone is around, can join, we can see us. And yeah, anyway, morning we'll catch up in the Bhagavad Gita class. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।